Alchemist's Raiment. Probably one of the least popular pieces of exotic armor, at least for warlocks. But why is it so unpopular? It looks cool, but we Destiny players learned long ago that armor appearance is meaningless if the perks and stats aren't up to scratch. And in the case of Alchemist's Raiment, the perks and stats are so poor as to be laughable. Before I get into the exotic perks, this Warlock chest piece has the increased special heavy ammo node, which is excellent, but it also comes on other Warlock exotics like Starfire Protocol and more recently on the Transversive Steps. So what about the exotic perks? You have a chance to get Glimmer from primary ammo pickups, and while your super's charged, orbs will grant grenade and melee energy. These both sound interesting, but let's look at this in practice. Getting Glimmer from primary ammo pickups, you have a chance to get 6 Glimmer per box. 6. I guess since primary ammo is very common, you'll have a good chance to get some Glimmer by using this exotic in a strike or something, but let's just do a few simple calculations. Say the perk triggers every single box of primary ammo, even though it doesn't, and grants you 6 Glimmer per box. To get say 500 Glimmer, you'll need to pick up roughly 84 boxes of primary ammo. 84 boxes. That's a lot, more than you'll ever pick up in a 10-minute strike or crucible match. Now consider doing a patrol on the Cosmodrome. Remember these missions? Go and kill a VIP target? The VIP missions that spawn in the Divide, which are fairly common by the way, ask you to drive around the corner and kill a Vandal or a Servitor or occasionally an Archon. No big deal, it'll take you about 60 seconds to do the whole thing. Your reward? 500 Glimmer. Just like that. Even the other patrol missions like kill some enemies or scan an area are going to give you 250 Glimmer, still worth over 40 boxes of primary ammo. Not just this, but dismantling the Bloomingrams from strike missions, crucible matches, or even the old school method of using boosters are great ways to earn extra Glimmer, almost as passively as picking up boxes of primary, except you don't need to equip an exotic piece of armor to gain the same benefits. Alright, so the Glimmer aspect of the exotic isn't great, but how about the other perk? Gain bonus grenade and melee energy from orbs when your super is full. I've always been kind of torn on perks like this. Similarly with Skyburner's Annex for the Hunter, where you'll continue to pick up orbs when your super is charged. There are times when I'm like, oh that's great, like when you're really weak and desperately need to trigger health regen, but you're already supercharged so you can't pick up the orb, unless you have one of those exotics equipped. But that's just me, so how does this exotic perk measure up objectively? You have to pocket your super and work with your grenades and melee, which sounds alright, as the Warlock already has a decent melee attack and excellent grenades. But is that really worth sacrificing your super for? Look at the Stormcaller to start with. The melee is good, and you can spec for a strong melee and grenade loadout with skill tree perks like Perpetual Charge, Feedback and Rising Storm. But the grenades for the Stormcaller are really average. Yes, storm grenades can deal okay damage, but it's slow, it lacks targeting, and completely pales in comparison to the potential of the Stormcaller super. In all content, PvE and PvP, having Storm Trance is better than having a few extra storm grenades and melee charges. To conclude, Alchemist's Raiment is simply not worth using on the Stormcaller subclass. Okay, so how about Voidwalkers? Scatter grenades are the only grenade that's really worth considering here, and for several reasons, but mostly due to the high damage potential. Yes, Axiom Bolt is alright, in the Crucible, and Vortex Grenade can deal reasonable damage if the target stays in the field, but Scatter's still shine in comparison. That being the case, is it really worth forfeiting a Nova Bomb for the potential to get more Scatter Grenades through orbs? No, not even close. Simply because of Nothing Manacles, which give you 2 Scatter Grenades with tracking and is more likely to trigger energy drain and grant you full grenade energy back anyway. Voidwalkers are supposed to play aggressively, supposed to use their super, and be rewarded for it, by recharging their grenades and their health with Embrace the Void. So Alchemist's Raiment again would be a bad choice for a Voidwalker. So that only leaves Sunsingers. The grenades are almost arguably the best in the game, for PvE at least, so it would seem that Alchemist's Raiment would be the most efficient on a Sunsinger. Of all the supers in the game, you would probably be more inclined to hang on to Radiance for self-res, so an exotic that requires a full super would make sense here. A significant issue with self-res though, is that you would be more likely to use it in solo content, or potentially in content where revives aren't available like a hard mode raid. Since the exotic requires orbs to work, it is completely pointless to use Alchemist's Raiment while playing solo. In the harder content where you can't afford to die like a hard mode raid, chances are your priority is not going to be finding stray orbs to charge your grenade or melee a bit quicker. Not to mention, hands down the best way to get more grenades and melee charges as a Sunsinger is to merely just use your super. That's what it's designed to do. On top of all this, there is an artifact that removes your super and gives you an additional grenade and melee charge, gives you energy back from the orb pickups and helps max out your discipline and strength build, and gives you small stat boosts. The only reason I could see someone using Alchemist's Raiment over Memory of Felwinter, which is the artifact that gives you those boosts, is if you really like to laylock and need to possess your super. Otherwise, Memory of Felwinter is nearly always going to be the superior choice. So despite all of this, I've tried to come up with a build that will make this exotic work. Recently my clanmate and I discovered that if one person fires Gjallarhorns, particularly at a boss, and another person fires Telesto while the wolf packs are swarming the target, the Telesto would generate orbs. I'm assuming because it considers the wolf packs as enemies or something. It actually works quite well. We're able to consistently get 3 to 4 orbs per Gjallarhorn rocket, which would suggest you could fully recharge a grenade and melee per rocket or so. So this would be my build. Alchemist's Raiment with increased heavy ammo as you'll want more Gjallarhorns, A max discipline and strength build, as intellect is going to be pretty negligible, and probably the most ideal method would be to use fusion grenades with Touch of Flame and Viking Funeral for the highest damage output. Otherwise, using 2 fusion grenades with Sunburst would also be quite effective, as Viking Funeral and Radiant Will won't be required if you're running with 2 fusions. Despite this somewhat cheesy method of producing orbs from Gjallarhorn wolfpacks, it still hardly justifies using this exotic. Throwing a dozen fusion grenades from using your Radiant Super will be worth roughly 48 Telesto orbs, or at least 12 Gjallarhorn rockets. Far more work to complete than simply activating your super and spamming the grenade button. Alchemist Raiment has been around since the Taken King. It has no practical value at all, and when there are non-subclass based artifacts that more or less provide the same feature, and there are plenty of better options for Warlock armor exotics, don't bother with the Alchemist Raiment. Thanks for watching, guys.